The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Hit it! Blows it away! Confidence apart! Cover is coming! Matterson never get there!
Matterson, great ball around the corner, Petticini, he beats them all! Junior Polar out wide, bumped away from Trindle, Sharks coming through, none of them can hold this!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just bring in the big fella. Hello to one and all. Your host, John, also known as 4020, welcoming you to another edition of the Tip Sheet Podcast, live on Tuesdays for our NRL and news edition. Joining me is my good mate, 60s, a.k.a. Craig, a.k.a. the big fella. Plenty to talk about this week, mate. Eels are, well, it's a bittersweet basket for team list news. We'll get to that shortly, but some intriguing news on Ryan Matterson. Not quite a release. We'll go into that shortly, as Craig can't hear me because I did not unmute properly. You got me now, mate?
Yeah, got you now.
There we go. So I was just doing the preamble here, welcoming you in. Got plenty of people in chat, plenty of regulars there. Ben Johnson, Gallagher, Mike Fleet, Mike Pez, a couple of mics in chat there. Michael Formosa, it's all the mics. Philip, Chris Hill, good to have you in, boys. There's Scott Whitney, number one chatter right now. So plenty of regulars in chat. Hello to one and all. Hello, Maddie. Hello, Cherry. Craig, as always, though, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, the challenges continue, mate. And shout out to lots of people who have been reaching out to me and people who've just been there, just constantly been there. So a lot of thanks for that. So reminder, John, this week's our big TCT watch party.
You put the post up on the website today? Yep.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure everyone knows about it. So we'll talk about it here on the podcast as well as putting it on the website and all the socials. So Friday night in Sturlos in Paraleagues, the home of the Eels. It's really our way of saying g'day to everyone. Thanks for sticking around in such a tough year, or a year where we've only got 5 wins so far.
No doubt.
And if we get a win against the Broncos, come in and join us to watch that game unfold, which would be great. There's nothing better than watching matches with fellow supporters.
Yeah. Ride the highs and share the lows.
Absolutely. So looking forward to seeing familiar faces, looking forward to meeting new people. And also, I guess, people who we know and people who we don't know are also meeting each other. So it's just a way of growing our community, a way of saying thanks to everyone. Of course, this is our 10th year of covering the Eels. So why not get together towards the end of the season with a whole bunch of like-minded fanatics about the blue and gold?
Yes, sir.
In Sturlos. Now, it kicks off at 7 o'clock. The game itself is 8:05.
8 o'clock, they say, but who knows if the coverage.
Yeah. And we'll put the platters of food out about 7:30. Yep. You and I will have a bit of our pre-game preamble. Before that, we've got a few giveaways that will be involved in that. Can you hold your cup up again, John?
Yeah, we got a few of those. There we go. To go out to
everyone. A few of those to give
Chanel's
away.
Been working very hard to spruce them up nicely. So very well done to Yoko there.
So Yoko organised the getting the cups made this time, and she's going to put them together as like little gift packs as well. So my thanks to her. She's been a bit of a rock for me with. Especially with stuff around Mum. And also, look, Mum's favourite drink has, over the last few years, became the Canadian Club. So if I'll have a Canadian Club on Friday, just as a way of thinking about Mum in what she's going through at the moment, and we'll continue to go through. And if anyone wants to join in throwing down a Canadian Club, in support as well, that'd be great and very much appreciate it. So with that out of the way, John, also a thanks to our sponsors, of course, the aforementioned Parramatta Leagues Club, the home of the Eels, and also Star Partners Real Estate, Auburn, Narellan and Parramatta. Greg and the team, the OG sponsors By the way, anyone wants to hop on board as sponsors, even going into next year, just get in touch with us, email, socials, whatever, and we really appreciate that because we want to surge on to bigger and better in year 11 next year, John.
Yes,
and
line up really nicely with Jason Rolls leading us to Premiership glory too.
Yes, yeah, Premiership glory in 2026. But yeah, so John, I guess we're at that point of also reminding people, no matter what platform you're watching or listening to this on, if you can give it a like and subscribe, that would be fantastic.
The old YouTube special, yep.
Really appreciate. Like we've been hitting that 1,000 views mark a number of times on the YouTube, which is again relatively new. People know that we've only hit going with our faces on YouTube this year, so we appreciate that we're getting those subscribers. We'd like the subscribers to get up close to that 1,000, but it's great that we're also getting the views up around there. So
and the turnout to the live streams has been fantastic too, by the way, for just a little footy podcast, getting the sort of attendance that we do and the engagement with you guys. And I don't mean engagement in the shilling for algorithm sort of stuff, but the legitimate banter and questions that we have. It's fantastic.
Yeah, really appreciated. So, yeah, John, I guess time to hit that.
Let's hit it.
News team, assemble!
Just making sure I got my show notes in order, ladies and gents, because we have a very bittersweet list of things to run through here. Some real monkey paw stuff going on at Parramatta, Craig. Like, seriously, we don't even get a second to celebrate the return of Mitchell Moses this week, because even before it had been confirmed that Moses was back on the team sheet at 4:00 p.m., even in the like the league sheets that come out at about 3:00, 2:30 in the afternoon with the Daily Telly and the Sydney Morning Herald, reports broke this morning that Isaiah Iongi had broken his hand or his wrist, facing a 4 to 6 week stint on the sideline. What a gut blow. A breakout young star, was probably the front runner for the Dally M Rookie of the Year in a very contested field this year. A lot of fantastic young players running around the competition this season. Puts him at a serious disadvantage to claim that honour now with a month and a half of football to be played. Maybe he still finishes on top, but it'll be unlikely, I think, given, like I said, how strong the field is this year. But yeah, the team was Craig, and I'll run through it shortly, but the big news out of it, Moses back, Iongi gone. What were your takes on that one? We just can't have a single nice thing, not just this year, but going back to 2022, really.
This feels like and look, it's wrong to have this sort of attitude, but fans can have this attitude at times. The players, the coaches, the club, they can't have this attitude, right? But we can have this attitude of, this feels like a very Parramatta thing to have happen in terms of luck, because we have zero. We literally have zero. We don't have matches where we go, well, we got a lucky call there. Oh, that was lucky, we got away with that one. No, those things don't happen. Then this year, the players that we least want to lose or miss games with, and early on, it was both Zach Lomax and Mitch Moses. And now, as the season's progressed, with Isaiah Iongi starting to really show his talent as someone who's now arrived in the NRL.
Yep.
Early in the season, it was like, here's a player of great promise. And that's still true to an extent. But by the same token, you can also say that he's arrived as a first-grade fullback now. And what happens? No, he's going to be out for the rest of the season now. This has been every year. I keep thinking we've had a diabolical year,
We find
and
out
it just seems to get
every,
worse.
I'm banning the term. Surely it can't get any worse from our lexicon from moving forwards, Craig, because we find a way to top ourselves. But there is a way it can get worse. I don't know how. I don't know why. But just when you think you've bottomed out in terms of bad luck, even in a year where your commander-in-chief is making great call after great call, even times where it's contentious with the Josh Papalii thing recently, you can still see the positives of the call, but it just feels like we can never get momentum with stuff that you cannot control. And we always talk about controlling what you can control. It is one of the classic sporting adages about what you can take care of in your own backyard and put yourself in the best position to succeed. The Eels are dealing with a serious handicap week on week, month on month, with things they cannot control, and it is brutal.
Yeah, and as you said, it doesn't seem to end. We could talk about, and I feel like at some point I'm going to talk about, John, because I wasn't there for the instant reaction on the weekend, and thank you so much for holding the podcast together without me on the weekend.
Very loosely holding it together, don't worry.
But I am putting together a column. I'm dedicating myself to getting something out this week, John. So I'm putting together a column for TCT, getting back into the writing, and I am going to have a real dive into some of the garbage that we've been copying lately with decisions. And you and I both say first port of call after a loss has to be the mirror.
Yep.
Go and have a look at what we've done wrong ourselves. As you said, the things that we can control, and we haven't done that well enough. Specifically, completion rates have been atrocious. But there are things that all year it feels like it's conspired against the Eels, whether it be injury, whether it be players that have been unavailable, whether it be calls that happen in games, whether it's been a bounce of the ball or whatever it might be. It's just felt like one of those years, and it's one of those years on top of one of those years on top of one of those years. And I don't know how other Eels supporters feel, but I'm ready for this crap to end. I'm really ready for this crap to end. And
yep.
And maybe,
yep.
maybe like it's because I think stuff has just crapped on me at the moment, and I'm feeling a bit that way. But yeah, I'm ready as a supporter. I'm just ready for it to be over. Like you just want things to turn just a little bit. Where they say it swings and roundabouts, and everyone ends up being leveled out when it comes to these sorts of things by the end of the season. It never does, John. We know that. The teams that ultimately win, they're the ones that normally have the best run with injuries, use the fewer players.
Get a bit of luck along the way in terms of
Get a bit of
calls,
luck
yeah.
along the way, yeah.
That is how it works, yeah. And on top of that, obviously, you have to be very good. That
yeah.
A huge part of the formula, but there is stuff that you cannot control that contributes massively to your success. And look, it is not an individual trainer's fault. We've had different training staff come through for the athletic and conditioning stuff. We've had different coaches at the helm. We've had different recruits, different players, different personnel. Eels just been direly unlucky in the last few years.
What can you do about a broken hand?
Yeah. Does anyone in chat know where he could have done it? Was there a tackle or a run he made late in the game? Or was it earlier in the game he just played through it? I can't recall him clearly cradling a hand or a wrist at any point. So maybe we have to do a film review during the week and try and find that one out. But yeah, massive blow to the Parramatta Eels. One of the shining lights here, which does lead us into Team List Tuesday. Craig will run through the team sheets. Only 3 this week. Cup and Flegg on the global buys. No action across both competitions there, as all teams get the weeks off. And for the Parramatta Eels, we start in the NRL as they head up to Brisbane to take on the Brisbane Broncos. Kind of crazy that there, though. You could take on the Dolphins up in Brisbane too, I guess. So taking on the Broncos, as you mentioned, we're going to be at Para Leagues at Sterlo's to watch this one, hosting that watch party. But for the Eels, they look like this. Replacing Isaiah Iongi. This was always going to be an interesting call from Jason Riles, Craig, because with only one clear backup fullback on the roster right now, the question became, what do you do with Josh Papalii, or Papalii? And the call has been to put him back to fullback. Now, that could change between now and Friday, who knows? But right now, he goes back to fullback, being the only recognised backup fullback on the roster. There were other options. Zach Lomax, Josh Adokar, Bowie Simonson, Sean Russell, all got some degree of experience there in some places in their careers. But Joash, the outright specials fullback on the roster, He has the one on his back. Zach Lomax will be on the right wing with Will Penasini on the right centre side with him. Sean Russell has won that left centre spot over Bailey Simonson. He partners Josh Adokar, to little surprise there. We got Dean Hawkins in the halves alongside Mitchell Moses. Obviously, Dino being the preferred backup half to Mitchell Moses all season long, and now holds his place in the team with Josh being pushed back to fullback. Jermaine Hopgood, who had a very good stint at prop forward last week, probably his best 40 minutes, 50 minutes, thereabouts, of the year, I would argue, retains his position in the front row alongside Junior Barlaw. Hopefully that eye has opened up for the big fella. Riley Smith will work at dummy half in the starting role. Charlie Geimer on the right edge. Jack Williams on the left. Dylan Walker at lock forward. And then maybe our best configuration of the bench all season, Craig. Talon Da Silva, Luca Moretti, Matt Dury, and Sam Tuivasa. Matt Dury coming off a real barnstormer of a game against the Raiders. Luca Moretti getting through 41, 42 minutes of football in Reggie's last week, relatively unscathed. And obviously Talon Da Silva, the new recruit, and Sam Tuivasa, the young bull there. Extended roster. Options here for Jason Riles ahead of that kickoff on Friday if he wants to explore them. Dan Keir, Jordan Samrani, Bowie Simonson, Tony Mattaielli, and then the left-out man right now, Dylan Brown. And probably a name that we're going to talk about plenty between now and Friday, even though there's only a few days between Tuesday evening and Friday evening, because how does Dylan potentially fit into this equation? Riles being pretty staunch about only playing him if it's absolutely required. We're probably pushing absolutely required right now.
Yeah, you would think, but apparently not. You know what this reminds me of, John? It reminds me of the squad in COVID, where there was a bunch of players that were never going to get a run unless it was absolutely essential. And by the end of the year, it was where Hayes Dunster made his debut, where he was called in for the finals match against the Rabbitohs.
Oh, God, yeah.
And all he'd done all year was train with the team.
Yeah.
Hadn't played a game, and now it looks like we've got Dylan Brown, who's expected to be involved in training, but there aren't any foreseeable expectations that he's going to take the field. And look, it's interesting because I think a lot of supporters were sold on Joash playing at 5'8" as that future is now for next year, because he's the 5'8" option. But with the injury to Isaiah Iongi, he's dropped out to fullback. Dean Hawkins comes in at 5'8", and then I asked the question: does Jason Riles have his actual mind made up about who the 5'8" will be? Because you would think that if he wanted Joash, if Joash was going to get the first crack next year, that he would maintain Joash at 5'8" to get those games under the belt and play someone else at fullback. For example, perhaps Bailey Simonson at fullback.
The odd man out in the back line this week. Or, you put Bowie into the centre, Sean Russell the fullback, or Bowie to the wing, Zach Lomax the fullback. You had options. Yep. Perhaps the I don't know if you can call it the least disruptive, but maybe the best for the balance of the team was putting Joash at fullback, because he is the most experienced fullback. Dean Hawkins, obviously a very competent half that can work alongside Mitchell Moses. But, yeah, you raise legitimate questions. I've been in the camp of playing Joash at 5'8" because it is the best for his personal development and for the team to find out whether he is the guy to be number 6 next year. But this, look, there's no sugarcoating it in that the injury to Isaiah Iongi is the worst possible injury he could have sustained at the time outside of Mitchell Moses being re-injured again, in terms of throwing a spanner into the works for the team and the team composition. But yeah, Riles choosing a very interesting, maybe not necessarily the correct route here, and certainly one that opens up a very rugged conversation about how he views Joash. Because if primary concern is development at 5'8" for Joash, then yeah, you would put Bailey, or you would put Zach, or you would put Sean Russell at fullback. Or Dylan at fullback, who has worked there in a pinch as an emergency cover against Penrith back at the end of 2023, I think it was.
Yeah, and I think he might have had a couple of spells at fullback in other games, like during the game as well. So he would be a player who you would assume would handle that fullback role with relative ease, as much as you can, a high pressure role there. But he's being part of the spine. It's it's something that I'm sure with a week of training he'd be fine with covering that. But yeah, it now throws a couple of things into the question barrel, which is, well, as I said before, is Joash a lock for 5'8" next year, or is Dean Hawkins a serious consideration to partner Mitch Moses in the halves?
As Gallagher and Chad is talking about too, Michael Chammas, that is the reporter, mentioned that we're still potentially in the market for a 6 if one's there, which again adds up. Riles has been quite forthright in that regard. He said that he likes Joash, but if the right guy's there in the market, they will look at him for sure. So, yeah, a lot to consider, a lot to unpack, and I will argue, and this is not trying to be arguing in bad faith, but from fullback, Joash still gets playmaker reps. Like, he still gets the opportunity to attack and distribute the ball and be in situations maybe simulated to some degree similar to what you get at 5'8", playing outside of Mitchell Moses, being that almost like tertiary ball receiver if Moses is going to rip the ball left to right or right to left, depending on how you're lined up. But yeah, there is no doubt that Riles makes I don't know if you can call it bold, but it's a contentious call. Well,
John, I would say one of the most important things that Joash has to learn as a 5'8" moving forward is the defensive role, because he had a lot of traffic thrown at him last
Canberra
week.
made him attempt 30 tackles. He missed or ineffectively completed 9 of them.
Yes, yeah.
It was a tough day.
And so that's one of the areas that if we're using the rest of the season as development time, where I would prefer to see him in that 5'8" role, and you look at other people for the fullback. Now, that's taking that particular stance. Where I would agree with Jason Riles is that Dean Hawkins has performed exceptionally well when called upon to play first grade this year. And he, under different circumstances, let's say, for example, that there'd been no indication that Joash was going to be 5'8" next year, and that Dylan Brown was out injured, I would have had not the slightest reservation about Dean Hawkins partnering Mitch Moses in the halves. I think that is a legitimate consideration. But that isn't the circumstances at the moment. So I'm not quite sure what to make of it, John. I think maybe the thing that it does is that it reinforces that Jason Riles has just simply made up his mind not to use Dylan Brown, and he's prepared to make selections which he believes are the best 17 outside of Dylan Brown in the team each week and fit the players in where he feels he can, and that this is his best 17. And you pointed out before that bench is a particularly strong one, John, and certainly the best balanced bench that they've had for some time. So maybe that's the case. Maybe we shouldn't have been looking at an aspect where Dylan Brown, where a lot of people, like myself, feel that Dylan's still in the top 17 players in the club and should be selected somewhere. We've just got to take him completely out of the equation and just go, look, it doesn't matter. Rolls won't select him regardless, no matter what the situation is.
It seems to be trending that way, doesn't it? Because it doesn't get much more dire than what we're dealing with this week, short of, again, knock on wood, losing someone like Mitchell Moses again for the third time this year, which we obviously are praying doesn't happen. But, yeah, it looks like Mitchell Moses will be working alongside either Dean Hawkins or Josh Papalii moving forwards. And if not them, who knows? Would it be Ronald Volkman next man up instead of Dylan Brown? How far do we have to exhaust options for Jason Riles to put Dylan Brown in at this point? Because he is... look, persona non grata is not the right way of saying it, because Riles is clearly not saying Dylan's an arsehole or an idiot or not liked in that regard. But from a purely football perspective, he has made a very clear boundary here. That Dylan's not part of the plan for next year. He chose to go to Newcastle, and he is as close to being excommunicated as you're going to get in the top 30.
Yeah, I'm not complete. I've got a foot in each camp, John.
Yeah, we have had this debate. Like, I don't think there is a clear-cut answer, right or wrong here. This is a very nuanced discussion. But what has clouded the discussion, obviously, is Jason Ryles pivoting to put Joash to fullback, choosing to prefer a player that is a specialist, or at least currently a specialist in that role, over the stopgap solution to one of those other backs. So have to wait and see.
He's pivoting the pivot, John.
Yeah, he is. He's pivoting the pivot. But we have to wait and see how that plays out. Who knows? There could be some shenanigans ahead of kickoff. That is not me trying to tip anything. I have no idea. But it's going to be very interesting one way or the other. So that is how the NRL shake out, mate. Thankfully, though, one team that doesn't have to worry about a changed roster this week is the NRLW, who are really enjoying not just a bounce-back win against the Canberra Raiders, but a bounce-back win that sees them field the same 17, which means they look like this going...
After setting records, too.
Yes, after setting club records for total points scored, individual points scored for Rachel Pearson with 18 against the Raiders. Had a fantastic game, one of a number of Eels that had it, Barnstormers. But the Eels this week, like I said, unchanged, which means confirmed across the 17 is Abby Church at fullback, Zoe Fay, the aerial specialist down that left wing, with Martha Matteoli, the powerhouse, on the right. Got her name on the scorer sheet for the first time as a Parramatta Eel, which was great to see. In the centres, Rory Owen bagged the double against the Raiders, and Lindsay Tui, the Nugget, another powerhouse back. Cassie Towie-Hiku and Rachel Pearson are your halves. Elsie Albert, Ruben Charrington, and Brianna Eels in the front row. Chloe Jackson, the captain Mahalia Murphy, and then the young gun Riverly Arlo at lock forward. Tanaka Todd Hunter heads the interchange bench and is joined by Paige Travis, another rookie in Tess McWilliams, who scored her first try in the NRLW. How good was that moment, Craig? Not many players can say they dragged Samaima Taufa for 6 metres to score a try, and Tess McWilliams did that as a young gun, not on debut, but in a rookie season, obviously. And then rounding out the bench is Fleur Jin as the backline utility. Extend the roster, it's Rosemary Beckett, Ruby Jean Kennard Ellis, Jessica Kennedy, Yasmin Baker, and Chelsea Makira. They're taking on the Newcastle Knights. This one's at Eric Tweedale Stadium on Sunday as part of a doubleheader with the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership, although this game is being played first. And obviously we'll go into the depth of this matchup on the preview podcast, or in the preview podcast. But, geez, Steve Georgiou's got to be happy. Record win on the road against the Raiders, gets the backup with the same roster unchanged. As a coach, doesn't get much better than that. Although I will say that, extend the roster, more injuries to the forward pack. We do lose Rashay Farmasui to a neck injury. No diagnosis, no prognosis on the return. She's TBA on that one. So we do send our best wishes to young Rashay there. But the Eels do have some reinforcements coming back in the coming weeks. Boss Kapua, round 4 return, Craig, but not listed anywhere in the team. That was the injury report. So I would assume that she'd probably be back next week. But joining her in the following weeks from there is Kennedy Charrington and Tyler Amiatu. So some serious troops on the horizon to return for Steve Georgioulis. But right now he's got a great blend of old heads and experienced players guiding these talented young rookies and new faces across the roster.
Yeah, Origin just isn't kind to the Eels, is it? We lost Kennedy Charrington for half the NRLW season as a result of...
Origin hasn't been kind to Parramatta, male or female.
Yep. And one of the real emerging players in Tyler Amiatu as well, missing half a season with her injury. So, but John, you talked about the form of the team. The previous week, they just really didn't adjust to the conditions, did they, over there?
They were just
in New Zealand.
They were on ice over at Mount Smart. They were.
Yeah. It was like whether you're left-footed or right-footed, it was like last week they had two left
shoes, 2 right shoes, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, look, their attack had been a bit clunky in the trials and in the first round, and they just couldn't even get points on the board as well against the Warriors. The bounce back win was going to be important, but it was a win that was never in doubt. The players found a lot more cohesion in attack, as evidenced by the points that were put on the board. You had key players who well and truly found their form. It was great to see Murphy back this week. last week, and just get that try on her return, and having the captain back, it obviously meant a lot to the players around her as well. It just added that power to the pack. But John, there's a couple of players that I have to keep mentioning. First being Chloe Jackson. Just, I don't want to say too much because you know the level of jinx that I have.
You'll put the murderous mockers on her for sure, yeah.
But she is just so consistent in her form, just ultra consistent. And if I'm Steve Georgalis, she'd be one of the first picked every week. We saw Cassie Toihiku have maybe her most, I'm trying to think of the right word to describe it, but she, in the first couple of weeks, it was almost like she was second guessing herself.
Yeah, she was far more decisive against Canberra.
Yeah, so
in all phases.
Decisive is probably the right word there, John. And as a result, she certainly showcased her skills. That
the taught bombs were wicked.
Bomb was.
That would have tested a few NRL fullbacks probably, the way she got it to talk there. So the poor Canberra custodian, she had some great moments in the game with the ball in hand. She didn't get the ball in hand off those kicks though. The Eels scored 3 tries, was it, off those kind of kicks? Absolutely tormented the Canberra back 3, and unchanged roster this week. Fantastic to read. Big questions coming up with Steve Georgalis if there's no more injuries, because Kennedy, Tyler, and Boss Kapua were considered walk-up. I mean, Kennedy's a walk-up starter, but Tyler and Boss were considered walk-up top 17 as well. But he's got young rookies in Tess McWilliams and Rivoli Arlaw playing out their skins. The new face in Paige Travis has been a fantastic addition in the back row, Craig. Brianna Eels has found another level this year too in her second year of the program. So a lot of really quality forwards going through the top 17 there, and someone's going to have to miss out if there's no more injuries, which is it's a great problem to have.
Well, as we often see, those selection dilemmas tend to be worked out by natural attrition with an injury here or there.
Based on
you don't want to see those sorts of things happen, but it'll feel like a Parramatta thing to happen. John, you mentioned the young players, Rivoli Arlaw and Tess McWilliams. To think that they've played this Tasha Gale season and gone from Tasha Gale straight into NRLW is phenomenal. And Tess McWilliams has been on an absolute tear this season. And with every game, she rose that little bit more. She was, I think it's fair to say, she wasn't a standout early in the Tasha Gale season.
Yeah, but midpoint of the season, she just hit a switch. And look, I grew up in Coffs Harbour, Craig, and neither Coffs nor Port are country towns, but Tess has got that country strength. She is a powerful prop forward. And I don't know what changed and whether one of the coaches like Shah Henry or someone else at the club managed to have a word to her, or she just took it upon herself. But there was a transformative moment halfway through that junior rep campaign, and she's just found level after level after level en route to making an NRLW debut and scoring against Jemima Taufa. Like, again.
Is it just a matter of self-belief, do you think, John?
Yeah, maybe. It could be as simple as just there was at some point during that season, if we go back and review the games, I'm not sure, but maybe there was a singular moment where she just had a good run, a good hit, because that was the other thing that we saw in the reps, was she's a violent defender as well. Like, loves a big shot front on. And she has just put it together. And, I mean, a player that's had it put together the entire year is Rivoli Arlaw as well, obviously. The Tasha Gale Player of the Year. Not the Parramatta Eels Player of the Year, the competition Player of the Year. And to be a starting lock forward, and the try that she set up for her halfback, Rachel Pearson, to give her the club record, 18 points, was another fantastic moment. So, you talk about the green shoots of the NRL, Craig. They're there for the NRLW as well.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, with Rivoli, we expected her to make a mark in the NRLW. That just, for the last few years.
She'd been
coming
earmarked
through
as a blue chipper coming through the pathways.
Yeah. So it's I guess it was more a case of with Tess maybe at the start of the season, you might not have been dreaming of her being someone making their mark at the start of the NRLW season. But, man, dragging
Samaima Taufa.
Samaima Taufa.
The pound-for-pound champ in the NRLW.
Yeah.
You know, she's got some ridiculous records in the gym, and we've seen her physical prowess on the field, her ability to just push through contact and wrap up and wrestle down any runner. And, yeah, Tess just took her for a ride. So, yeah, great stuff for the NRLW, Craig. They take on the Newcastle Knights. Former real Bo Tilvetti Welsh in the number 1 jersey for Newcastle. This one at Eric Tweedale. The other game at Eric Tweedale on the weekend at the 2:30 slot is the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership. Rounds out the 3-game docket for Team West Tuesday. A couple of changes here for the Eels. In the back line, we've got Caitlin Pearson coming onto the wing. Otherwise, it's Ella Carlisle at fullback. Paige Knapp is on the other wing. Josephine Lenars and Kiana Takarangi are in the centres. Matisse Bettridge will partner Aaliyah Sufan once again, in the halves that is. Taylor Falanico and Amani Le'avae are your young bookends in the front row, with Chelsea Makira, the second-year dummy half here for the Eels in the HNWP. In the back row, Jessica Kennedy is on one edge. Another young gun, another one that's been earmarked for higher honours in Fontaine Tafua. Another very special, very talented young player, Craig. She'll be in the NRLW sooner rather than later for sure. And then there's another pathways player in Ashley Pottinger at lock forward. Then on the bench, it's all pathways players. Ava Jones, Kylia Gray, Alana O'Loughlin, and Matoisha Kalepo. Handy group of 4 players there, Craig. And, yeah, very young team. Got their first win, by the way. Well done, girls. 24-20 win over Mounties. They've been so close in the first 2 weeks, and they get a deserved breakthrough in round 3. Looking to make it 2 in a row now as they host a game at Eric Tweedale. And one thing I didn't check was, who are they playing this week? Is it the Roosters? Harvey Norman Women's Premiership. It's the Knights still. Okay, it is the Knights. So they're taking on the Knights, and this is at 2.
John, talk to me about the pace of Ella Carlisle.
Yeah, well, she comes to us with a touch football background, I believe, right, Craig? I think they recruited her from New Zealand / Brisbane. And I saw she's played Oztag and touch footy when I was scouting out her background. So, yeah, a very handy pickup. Taking a bit of a punt there on projection with that speed, but the Eels have got something to work with there. She's been prominent in the first 3 rounds now, and starting to really find her feet with the number 1 on her back. And that combination will blossom with her 6 and 7 as they get more reps on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So, John, that actually takes us through all of the team.
Yeah, no cup, no flag
this week.
Yep.
Yeah, no cup, no flag. They've got the buys this week. So, and we've pretty well covered what we wanted to say with the weekend. The only thing, John, because you and I didn't get to have a chat after that game against the Raiders with the NRL. That scoreline did not reflect the contest.
No, they gave Canberra a hell of a run. Look, down 12-0 in as many minutes, it was going to be a cricket scoreboard at one point. The alarm bells were ringing. I imagine there would have been plenty of fans going, well, we're done. And they fought back 16-12. They got back on top. Could have scored another 2 or 3 tries, Craig. They had some real great opportunities in that first half. They couldn't quite take advantage of them. Dylan Walker couldn't find either Junior Bowl off the pass, or I think was it Joash on his inside? Who was lurking on his left? There was an inside runner he didn't see. Then the left edge had a couple of opportunities they couldn't ice. Really had Canberra on the ropes. Copped some tough calls. How the bunker and how Ashley Klein did not rule on the Josh Adokar tackle in the air play.
Oh.
And the fact that, I know people that were here in chat that were here for the instant reaction know that I got really annoyed at Andrew Voss and Mick Ennis, who were just waxing lyrical about K.O. Weeks' effort. He made a foul. It was a foul play. It's a sin bin or a penalty try. I mean, Bailey Simonson got done in for way less. Way less.
But Simonson got done in for being squashed under a player falling on top of him.
Yeah.
Like, he literally went like this as a player's falling on top of him. Just penalty.
Yeah.
So that, surely, John, I mean, if we're not talking a penalty try in that instance, it's professional foul.
Exactly. It's a sin bin or a penalty try. And I am of the belief that a sin bin's worth more to a team than a penalty try, but you take either. Would have been bigger than the momentum of the game. The other one, obviously, that stood out too was a challenge. Bowie Simonson had the ball stripped out, ruled that it wasn't played at.
Didn't the hand
the hand closes onto the ball and extracts it. And then later in the game, Charlie Geimer ruled to have played at the ball. 6 again for Canberra. Owen Paddy goes on the score, I think, the next play or 2 plays later, which if you're going to call one not a strip, the other one's not a strip. And the Canberra Raider lost it. Like, again, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So
what we're doing here is what? A 10-1 count.
And then I saw it in chat earlier, guys, and I agree. All the discourse in the programs was how hard done by were the Dragons, the bad calls they copped, and who was the other team? There was another team that copped some rough calls, Melbourne. The Harry Grant, that's a penalty every day of the week. He ran through the kicker's leg. Has been a penalty ever since. I mean, it's been a penalty before, but ever since since Lachlan Ilias broke his leg the other year, it's been a real point of emphasis. But ever since Steve Price broke legs diving at kickers' legs, it's been a penalty. And Harry Grant has done it before. He knows better. Don't woe me, poor Canberra, poor Nelson Surfer Solomona. He got 2 weeks for helping someone in the face, and Zach Lomax didn't get anything. There was the magnitude of force between those 2 elbows. There was an elevation from Nelson Surfer Solomona, who had priors, by the way. So, yeah. Woe is the poor Melbourne Storm. Woe is the poor St. George Illawarra Dragons. No one gives a shit about Parramatta.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's we just maybe it's because it's the same as every week. Nothing to see here. It's only just Parramatta. Yeah. Nothing to see.
Increasingly, it feels like that, mate. Something there is to see, though, and obviously chat's been talking about this one. The other big news came out today outside the Isaiah Iongi injury and the Moses return. The club, look, it's not a release. It's essentially
loan.
It's a loan deal right now with the opportunity to grow into a full-time opportunity. It's like an internship over in the Super League, I guess. Ryan Matterson joins the Warrington Wolves.
At 31 years of age. It reminds you of the movie. Was it De Niro in the intern? Was it the intern that he was? Was he the actor in the intern?
There was the Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson interns, the Google Interns movie.
I thought no, it must have been something else. I'm sure there was a movie where he was in there as a very elderly intern in a company.
Oh, you're right. And he was really handy and was solving all the problems. Yeah. Well, maybe Matter can be that for Warrington. He sticks around. Parramatta agreeing to facilitate a temporary release, a loan of Ryan Matterson's services to Warrington. He joined Sam Burgess there as a Wolf. I think he posted number 40 as his squad number there on the old Insta or whatever it was today. It could be a full-time position, Craig, moving forwards, but it buys the Eels less than, I suppose, is it a quarter of his salary pro rata, which I imagine will just go into that 5% rollover that the clubs have in cap space. Since
I guess they're getting some money from him that they couldn't get from Dylan Brown.
Yeah,
because in Dylan Brown not opting to go to the Knights, the Eels didn't pick up the cap space, the cap relief
the remainder of a season. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So they're getting that with Ryan Matterson.
ROH is on point. Matterson goes from a club that has a 39-year drought to a club that has a 70-year drought. Similar colours though. So
yes,
funny how that works out there. The club has labelled it a release, by the way, on their official presser, but it isn't quite. He remains contracted for next year. It's a temporary release, if you want to call it that. Although I imagine that the scope that the Eels are hoping for out of his deal is that he is happy with his time in England or finds a deal in the NRL elsewhere. I imagine that is a little bit of a projection for me there, but he does remain on the roster for next year as it stands. So definitely a wait and see, monitor situation. But he was on social saying that he's still contracted for next year, and at this stage he's going to be back. So maybe he's back. Who knows?
Was he back like what's his name was back for the Tigers?
Oh, John Bateman.
John Bateman. Yeah. Look, John, I guess the thing with this is you then go and think to yourself, so Matto's been out of the team lately, originally a back injury, but has him not playing in any grade be similar to what's happened with Dylan Brown, where Riles just wasn't going to select?
It looked like
and,
it. Yeah,
and in the end, he wasn't going to play him in reserve grade. And I guess from Matto's point of view, he stays healthy to go over there for the rest of the season, where he's not carrying an injury. So yeah.
It also clears up Parramatta's injury report for the NRL too, by the way. He was on there with a back injury. The decree was never clarified, and he seems to be fit right now. But the injury report for the Eels on the NRL level is Isaiah Iongi, as I mentioned, 4 to 6 weeks with a wrist or hand fracture. Had surgery today as we record, Craig. That was reported by the club. And obviously we'll have to wait and see. But you got to imagine his season's done. There's not going to be a situation where it's going to be worth putting him back into the line of fire with a game or two to spare if he gets back in time, if that's on the field.
Well, I mean, we're probably going to face Gideon being close to being out.
Gideon's 8 weeks. I would not be counting on him to return this year.
No. And John, I just had a little bit of advice sent to us by Yoko about the folly of a couple of blokes on a footy podcast admitting to being familiar about a chick flick. I wasn't aware that movie was a chick flick.
I've seen it through YouTube Shorts. That's my defense. When you're doom scrolling YouTube Shorts, it pops up every now and then as like the helpful intern guy that sort of knew everything about The Office, but no one appreciated. And that's why it took me a second to click, because when I thought of interns, I thought of the Google spoof with, like I said, Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. But there you go. So, yeah, you're guilty as charged though, mate. There you go. The movie was called The Intern. Thank you, Chris. So there we go. Now you're guilty as charged as well, Chris, by the way. So everyone's self-reporting today. Well done, guys. But moving on, we do have good news to talk about. Look, the Matterson news, neither good nor bad, I don't think. It's news. But as Chad has been, again, on top of, a couple of Australian schoolboys reps, the Eels have been very well represented in recent seasons, Craig, and this year is no different. A couple of our SG Ball stars, a couple of boys from Penrith, actually, that we were very sharp on recruiting. Cameron Bambut and Chris Petrus repping the green and gold for the blue and gold after going through the schoolboys carnival in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And
isn't Chris Petrus a PNG representative?
The Australian Schoolboys Carnival, I believe you don't actually need to be an Australian schoolboy. You don't need to be an Australian. You need to go to an Australian school.
Joey's going to be dirty on that. He had his eyes set on selecting Chris Petrus, I'm sure.
Oh, you're right, because they do play. Yeah, you're right, even though, No, I was thinking about, like, eligibility for the Australian schoolboys, because, Benji Marshall played for the Australian schoolboys back in 2003. I remember that. And we were speaking to Joey not too long ago, and he was talking about Chris Petrus potentially lining up for the PNG schoolboys equivalent at the end of the year. So there could be a little bit of a tug-of-war going on here. Be something to keep an eye out on, but well-deserved for Chris Petrus. He had a fantastic back end of the year. We talked about Tess McWilliams sort of flicking the switch halfway through the reps campaign. Chris Petrus, too, finished the season like a juggernaut. And then Cameron Bambut, very silky, very talented player, been more at home at fullback than anywhere else at the Parramatta Eels, but has played in the front line at 5'8", can play across the back line too. And I think Penrith at one point actually had him at hooker. I don't think he's a hooker, but they played him there a couple of times. So it's a great representation for the Parramatta Eels. Very well deserved for Cameron and Chris. Well done to both of them. And we've got another Chris in chat who was obviously on top of that as well. I'm sure he'll be saluting the boys when he sees them next as well.
John, that now brings us to a discussion topic, and we'll throw this as well to the chat. And it came to me today via an Instagram suggestion for a discussion topic, and I'm just going to dig back and give credit to where the suggestion had come from. I think it was no, not that. I was thinking it was Jean-Paul, but it wasn't Jean-Paul. It was Sebastian Brown. So Sebastian has asked whether we could tackle what we think the NRL and New South Wales Cup best 17s are going to be next year, especially looking at the packs. And he said, I think he thinks it's going to be pretty difficult to figure out who drops from the top team, who the second rowers are, etc. And it will be. And I don't know that in this podcast alone, without us going to the 3 or 4 hour mark, that we could cover both the NRL and New South Wales
Cup.
team.
I would actually need a spreadsheet for. I'm not joking. Between who we have on the books right now, who's coming through the Jersey Flag and the SG Ball, I don't know. There's going to be some good players that are going to be pushed to RMC or stay in Jersey Flag.
So let's have a look at, and I'll be interested to also get some feedback from chat. If we just left it at the pack as a first starting point, and then maybe go to the back line for the following week, who would you have in the starting pack next year, based on who we believe is still going to be there next year, and we've only got one forward recruit that's come in the way of Jack de Belin, who gets the gig, and perhaps we can include the bench with that, and let's take out what we assume will be Talon De Silva and Riley Smith splitting
one of the others
the starting and the 14 role between them. So we've got to come up with the 2 starting props, the edges, the lock, and then 3 for the bench. And we're going to have some players missing out that we don't probably want to miss out, John. Can I throw to you first, mate? Can we agree on Junior Paulo? We'll agree on Junior Paulo.
Right now, given what we've seen from Junior this year, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume he would be a de facto starter heading into next year. Does Jack de Belin partner him in the front row, or does Jack start at 13? Oh. Like, is Jason Ryles tipping his hand by starting Dylan Walker right now? You got Jermaine Hopgood starting in the front row. My gut says maybe you will start de Belin and Junior in the front row, and then
good luck at the second row now, John.
Second row. I mean, Katonga's got to be on an edge, right? Was close to our best player in the last 6 weeks. Still hasn't fully tapped into all his potential. Obviously, a devastating injury has derailed his campaign, but the upside of Gideon is just too good to deny. The other spot, though, wow. Jack Williams, Kelma Tuolungi, Charlie Guymer's having a great couple of weeks now. I mean, there's a couple of young guns, too, that I don't think will push in right now, but we've been talking up guys like Will Latu and obviously Josiah Funarayutu, who are part of the future. Gun to my head.
Jordan Samrani.
If I had to pick one, I'd say it's Jack Williams, I think. Williams is a Jason Ryles guy. You know, a bit of violence and defense, a bit of game-breaking ability here and there. Because then you go to the bench. So,
hang on. First of all, I haven't given you my second rower.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think why I lock forward here. Do I go? Look, I think Walker probably starts based on what we're seeing recently. But if Jermaine Hopgood can continue his, it's too early to call it a resurgence, but he is trending in a positive manner right now. He puts himself back into the frame to start and then be a rotational middle piece alongside the other props as Dylan Walker gets thrust into the exchange in the second wave. So maybe it's... I will say Dylan Walker starting at lock forward.
Yep. This is really tough because I think I'm with you on Gideon, and I think it then becomes, do you want 2 of Gideon? Because 2 of Gideon means he and Kelma, because I think they're very similar style of players, that explosive, mobile back rower like that. Then, like, Charlie Guymer is a serious consideration as well. He's become like the axe with defence.
Yeah, 50 tackles a game, barely missing
Yeah,
one.
yeah. He's found his mark as an NRL back rower. Of that, I have no doubt. And then I look at Jack Williams and I think, man, I like his leg speed, the way he hits that line on an edge. How do you leave him out?
I think what helps Jack's case is the lack of suspensions. Kelmer, unfortunately, has a reputation with the judiciary now, and that probably puts him behind the 8 ball.
So I'm probably on your side here, which makes us agreeing on this at the moment, that it's Jack Williams, and then we come to the lock, and you said you're going for Dylan Walker.
I will start Dylan Walker just because there's too many people to feature on the bench otherwise. If you've got Talon Silva and Dylan Walker on the bench, you only got 2 spots free, and there are too many talented players to not be putting 3 open spots after Walker on the bench.
Yep. No, well, then I agree with you too, because he is a talent. He offers something different.
And his leadership capacity in the team should not be denied too. He was the one that confronted Ashley Klein.
Yes, yeah. So I think, as much as I'd like his impact this year, I've been in every game, I've been champing at the bit for him to make an appearance on the field. Like from about the 15-minute mark, I'm waiting for him to get out there.
Yep.
Having him start probably takes away my anxiety in that regard. So we're now matching completely. So we go to the 3 positions on the bench. Is there any doubt that Sam Tuivasa gets one?
No way. I mean, there is an argument that Sam maybe contends or vies for a starting spot if his trajectory of development continues, but he is so damn good off the interchange that I think that Riles isn't going to rush that. I think that will come in time as Junior begins to get phased out as part of that succession plan down the road. And what Sam does in that, first rotation or second rotation, however you want to look at it, semantically, is too good for his team. And the other player that pairs so well with Sam, obviously, is Luca Moretti. And I think that they are pretty much insta-picks on the interchange. Luca, the only thing that's held Luca back this year has been injuries. He's just been a bit unlucky.
So are you going to go for a back row, or are you going to go for Jermaine Hopgood to get the other spot?
that's the question.
Because at the moment, you haven't found a place for Charlie Gime. You
haven't
found a place for Kelmer.
Matt Doorey, Kelmer.
You haven't found a spot for Matt Doorey. Yep.
Yeah. Look, depth is a key part of being competitive. Eels have had their depth tested massively since 2022, so there is no doubt that good players are going to miss out. If I had to pick a singular player, I mean, based on what we've seen this year, it's probably going to be Matt Doorey as the preferred option from Jason Riles. I think that...
And leaving Hopgood out.
And maybe leaving Hopgood out. I think that Doorey offers more from the interchange. His ability to be an impact, high leg speed guy. But look, he's not an edge player anymore, but he can flex the edge better than Jermaine Hopgood can and spell someone there in an emergency. Beyond that, maybe Charlie Guyman could also fit that similar profile, being a guy that can play edge or middle, maybe even other positions in an emergency. But on exposed selection tendencies, I would say that it's going to be Talon, obviously Sam and Luca, and then Matt Doorey, based on what we've seen. And this is obviously pending any external recruitment or whatever.
I always like seeing Matt Doorey in the team because I think he runs lines, powerful lines, better than any other player in the team. But I'm going to base my selection on what I think Jason Riles will do. And I think Jason Riles would select Jermaine Hopgood.
You reckon? Okay.
Whereas I might be tempted to go with a Doorey. I might be tempted to go with Charlie Guymer. I might be just as tempted as well to go for Kelmer.
And I've left Kelmer out, but I think Kelmer, like he's been an interchange player for Jason Riles, but Katonga's 80 minutes and Jack Williams on an edge is 80 minutes. So I don't know.
So John, here's my next question. We've talked about trying to fit these players in, and at the same time, ourselves and others have wanted the Eels to hit the player market
in
for
chat,
a middle.
I see plenty of great suggestions here. I mean, we've got other positions. Gallagher pushing for Jonah Pezzett and Jake Averillo. Averillo getting some other seconds there. David Fafita, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui on the high end of the scale there. But yeah, there is. We know the Eels are looking at external options, but that's why we have been pushing that if you're going to go to the market now, it needs to be quality, because you've got a number of good players that are going to be surplus to at least requirements pending fitness, and that's always a big pending with the Parramatta Eels. You got to go get a top end difference maker, because you've got a lot of great midfield guys, a lot of guys that can be value add-ons to a good team that can be lifted up by getting another elite player. Guys that get better because you raise the talent level of the team with an elite pickup, whether it is taking a punt on David Fafita, whether it is Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, Patrick Carrigan. Like these are all hypotheticals. I'm not saying that they're in the works, but if they can go and get an elite head through the middle, or even on less on an edge, I think an edge between what we've got with Gideon, Jack Williams being able to go back to the edge in an ideal situation, and someone like Kelmer on top of the young kids, I think that might scratch out someone like David Fafita, Craig. I think that there's enough talent there. Will Latu, Josiah Funarayuta coming through, a couple other young kids, Chris Petrus we just mentioned coming through. I think Jason Riles isn't going to overinvest in that position. You always want talent in the middle, though. It is such a key part of winning a given game, and that's where you look at the big recruit to help facilitate that succession plan for Junior Barlaw, to be the guy alongside someone like Sam Tuivasa, to be the next generation.
Yes. And John, for that reason, I say to people, keep an eye on the player market on middles where there's rumours around them being disgruntled, where they're at.
Hey, you can use the showers at Parramatta with no issues. I'm just saying. You ain't going to get yelled at Parramatta.
Yes. So, obviously, I'd like to see Tino there at the Eels.
He is at the very top end of any potential shopping list, and that is obviously where you set your hopes and your dreams and your really optimistic expectations. And I have no doubt the Eels will do their due diligence. They're going to have a crack, but any team that's got the cap space, and maybe some that haven't got the cap space, will also have a crack. Tino is one of the preeminent young middles in the game. I think, has he turned 25 this year? I'm pretty certain. Let me just bring this up. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui.
But while you're looking, John.
Yeah, 25 in February.
Yeah, we know there are certain clubs that have no cap space. They will go in, they'll make their play in the player market, get the contract signed, and then make it fit somehow. And we all know who we're talking about. So, John, any comments there from chat about the topics we've covered in the Eels news?
I mean, obviously, plenty of people voicing their opinions on recruitment, one with the other. Our good mate Michael Formosa's not super optimistic on our prospects of getting Tino. I don't know if you've got an inside word there, Michael, or you're just being quite realistic. I respect it either way. But like I said, that when you talk about Tino, it's obviously at the top end of the spectrum. And a prospect that the club needs to kick the tyres on, regardless of whether they're going to get told to go stuff themselves or not. You've got to be in it to win it. And if you don't at least inquire, you're never going to find out if you've got a chance. Like I mentioned before, Gallagher's been pushing the barrel for Jonah Pezzett, and a player that I've got a bit of time for in, I say his time now, Averillo, who is going to be potentially squeezed out of that Redcliffe setup, Craig, with the acquisition of the Brisbane Bronco winger, who I sell on Cobbo. There we go. He's overrated, so I never remember his name. But Averillo, a great utility player, speed the burn. We saw him score a long-range try on the weekend. I don't know if you caught that game, but he went about 90 metres to score a great try where the ball popped up into his hands. Chris,
they haven't got enough pace in that Dolphins back line.
No, they're short on a few gears there, aren't they? Chris Hill mentions Tui Kamikamifa, or Tui K as a depth signing. Who was it? Was it Manly or South Sydney that had a deal fall through with Tui? It was a 2-year, $400K per year deal, I think it was. And it got scuppered recently. So, look, Tui was a Parramatta Eel at one point. He's a pretty handy player. Very, basic in what he brings to the team. He's a north-south ruck, prop. Doesn't bring much else to the team, but there's value in that. A guy that can just give you your 10 metres, 100 metres, like 10 metres a carry, 100 metres a game off the bench. I think the price is right. You could look at it as a depth option, but I think the Eels aspire to more than Tui right now, right, Craig? I think I think so.
I think for the younger ones coming through need to occupy the positions that I think a Tui would occupy. And also,
he was with us in the flag equivalent, Warren, back in the day. We recruited him as a Fiji track athlete. I think he was a 400-metre runner from back in the day under Anthony Fields, going back a few years.
Yes. I reckon he'd have a great way to end his career over in England, myself, Tui.
I could see that, yeah. He'd be a rock over there, just they wouldn't be able to bring him down.
Anyone else there with their... have you got some comments or opinions there about the pack for next year?
Yeah, we had a few suggestions. We had Scott Whitney was on Rugby League 26, which has drawn some ire from Kendi Charrington for its poor use of player likeness. But he had the fantasy pack out there, Craig. He's got the pack sorted out, Junior Barlaw, Riley Smith, Payne Haas, Hamola Lakwatu, Kelma Tuolangi, and Dylan Walker. So they're just starting back for next year on Rugby League 26. We had a few other suggestions there.
I did see something shown on social media, and was it Cronulla against Parramatta? Anyway, one of the players ran downfield like in an NFL game, and the ball was kicked down to them in a highly offside position where they caught the ball and beat the fullback.
Look, they must be playing for the Melbourne Storm. Easy. Chris, our good mate in chat, says Jermaine Hopgood at number 8. He's got Junior Barlaw in the number 10. Riley Smith starting between he and Talon De Silva. He's got Jack DeBellin on an edge with Jack Williams, the two Jacks out wide, and Dylan Walker at lock forward. Then we got Scott Whitney, who has a serious suggestion too. Not that the other one wasn't serious, Scott, of course, but he says Junior and Sam Tuivasa starting. He's got DeBellin on an edge too. Jack Williams as the other back rower. Jermaine Hopgood at the 13. Riley Smith starting at dummy half. And then Michael Byrne starting junior, and Luca Moretti. Riley Smith, he's starting dummy half. Gideon Katonga and Jack Williams alongside what we were saying on the edges. Jack DeBellin, he's starting number 13. So a little bit of diversity there from people. Some people are seeing Jack DeBellin on an edge. I don't think he will project as an edge back role for Jason Riles, Craig. But what will be interesting to me is whether he plays at 13 or in the 8 or 10, like whatever prop jersey he dons, in deference to junior most likely. Going to be very interesting to see though. And this is all before we talk about any more future recruits as we were alluding to. And then Michael says on the interchange, Tuivasa, Hopgood, Walker, De Silva. I don't mind that. Yeah, if you're going to go that path, that's fine. Obviously, there's a kind of a 6 of one, half dozen the other between Hopgood and Matt Dury, I think. I think that Dury probably the better interchange player, but Hopgood certainly got the more reps as a starter. And if he continues to trend upwards this year, I've got no issues of him taking the place over Dury. But he needs to get those runs on the board and fast, although against Canberra, I thought was a very good outing.
Yep. So our thanks to Sebastian Brown for that topic. So if you've got a topic that you want to throw our way, we can't guarantee that we jump into a particular topic in any given podcast. Depends how crammed we are with news on that particular day, but we appreciated that today. It actually landed quite well. So we were able to dive into that just a little bit, and maybe we'll have a bit of a look at next week what our backline would look like. But apart from that, John, I think we're just about due for your musical interlude.
Oh, it is a quality piece of music this week, fellas. As I mentioned in the Team List post, the hits don't stop coming for the Parramatta Eels, which of course cues up some Smash Mouth, but not your regular Smash Mouth. A great piece of meme-worthy content as the hits don't stop coming and... They don't stop coming, Craig. They don't stop coming. They don't. They really don't. This is what the internet was made for, mate. They don't stop coming. hits just don't stop coming for the Parramatta Eels or South Sydney Rabbitohs for that matter too, who have also copped the pointing into the stick this year with some real bad luck when it comes to injuries. But the Eels, they've been doing it for years. So, you got to catch up a little bit, South Sydney. One bad year doesn't mean you're in the same ballpark as us, fellas.
No, not at all. So, John, a bit of signing news really is the main, I guess, talking points from the NRL.
Yeah. Breaking today were a couple of retentions for the West Tigers and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Obviously, the Tigers will be very happy because there was a lot of speculation that their captain and dummy half, Api Koroisau, could be heading towards Perth. And I saw our good mate Rugby League History was in chat mentioning that the Perth Bears are not inheriting North Sydney's history, Craig. They're taking on the name, but none of the history. So very, very interesting stuff there. Usually when you take on the name, you do inherit the background of the club. So Perth will have to look for another dummy half, though, because Api Koroisau has inked a 3-year extension through to the end of 28.
John, and just before we get on to Koroisau, with that bit of news coming from Rugby League History, and if anyone's looking for a channel to follow as well, besides the Cumberland Throw, get onto Rugby League History because he has some great content that's there. He's a passionate English supporter. I think from memory, spent a bit of time living out in Australia. Anyway, he might have been, he's got his passion for the Eels. He might have had a bit of time as a North supporter. I've got it in the back of my mind, but that
we'll forgive that if it's a North. Everyone's got a soft spot for the Bears.
Yes, yeah. But how do you feel about them not inheriting the Norse history? Because for mine, as a neutral, I'm highly disappointed in that.
Yeah, it's almost unprecedented. Like when you take on the name, you usually take on the history. Otherwise, you start your own license, your own identity. So,
And I wonder how the Bears themselves feel about that, because surely they viewed this as their re-entry to the NRL, and if their history isn't part of it,
and they're going to play games at North Sydney, right? That was part of the agreement. Yeah. But they're not going to be the history. How do you celebrate the history? They inherit the draft. Yeah, I mean, true. They can't have another club out doing the Parramatta Eels in that regard, Jamie. But yes, unofficially they will inherit the drought regardless. But yeah, what an odd call. I get wanting to forge your own identity as a new franchise, but if that's the case, don't be the Bears. Go be take on another one. Obviously I want to resurrect the Reds, but go find something else. I don't know. The Swordfish. Whatever's big over at Perth.
I would have thought that there was a lot of goodwill and even excitement about the Bears coming in based on the connection with the North Sydney Bears.
Yeah, the rich tapestry of history that came from North Sydney. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know who's making that decision, whether that's the franchise decision or the NRL decision.
Rugby League History points out the Gold Coast had the same option. They didn't inherit the history of the Gold Coast, which, to be fair, the Gold Coast history is very torrid across, 4 or 5 iterations.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to inherit the Gold Coast history.
The Crushers, really. The Seagulls. What else have we had there?
The Crushers were actually South Queensland. It wasn't the Gold Coast.
Purely the Gold Coast, but
so they had, I think, the Seagulls.
Yeah.
And the what was the Chargers?
The Chargers. Yeah, there you go, Gallagher.
Like Captain Charger, he was.
Yeah, Captain Charger. I mean, to be fair, the Chargers are an American franchise in the NFL, formerly San Diego, currently Los Angeles. But yeah, they've got such a cursed history, the Gold Coast. But
I've got a feeling there's another.
I think there was a fourth. Maybe I'm mixing the Titans. I thought there was a fourth historical franchise
between the Seagulls and the Chargers. I'm sure there was another one there, but if so, it slipped my mind as to who they were. So
Giants, Seagulls, Gladiators, and Chargers. There you go, Rugby League History coming with the club.
What was it? Gladiators.
The Gladiators. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's why I couldn't remember it. It was just
utterly forgettable.
It was forgettable. Okay, so we've just touched on Api Koroisau staying with the Tigers.
Yeah, Alex Johnston, 2 years with the Bunnies. So he's set to break Ken Irvine's record at some point this year, we project. But a lot of discourse on 360 tonight was about whether they should have signed him for just the 1 year, Craig. He's not young. He's not old. Was he 30? Chat, he is 30 years as of January this year. So turning 31 before the season kicks off next year. Been relatively...
Is he showing signs of slowing down?
Well, he'd been super healthy and super available for most of his career, hence why he's challenging Ken Irvine's record in 2025. More recently, though, the injuries are starting that up. And he's certainly not blindingly fast anymore, although I think his speed was probably overrated insofar as in the past he was talked about as NRL's fastest, and I don't think it was ever on the Hammer's level as a current speedster. The Hammer just moves in a different gear compared to someone even like Alex Johnston. But yeah, look, are they prioritising loyalty and the sort of the vibes over maybe integrity is not the right word, but competitive projection here? Johnston's still a solid NRL winger, but can they do better for the value that we get from his deal?
Well, what did he sign for? Is that quoted?
Is that quoted? Let me have a gander. I'll get back to you. I'll take that one on notice while we're chatting, because I didn't see a number for Api Koroisau either. Because that's just a press release from the Rabbitohs. So they're not going to announce the value. But what? Okay.
Koroisau is older than 31, isn't he?
Koroisau is older than 31. He is that might be a contract that ages really badly. Api Koroisau, is he already 32 this year? He's 33 in November. Like, people were clowning on Parramatta for signing Jack DeBellin on a 1+1 with the time that he missed in the game. Appy is his game revolves around being an explosive dummy half. And while he can add elements of craftiness to his toolkit and sort of broaden his repertoire in that regard as he slows down physically, playing through to when he's 36, 37, I don't know. That felt like he squeezed another year out of the Tigers there.
So what's he signed for with the Tigers?
End of 28, a 3-year extension. And Chad also mentioned Peter's been busy in chat pointing out some stuff we missed. Cody Walker re-signing, another elder playmaker re-signing for South Sydney. The Tebovic brothers are close to inking a new deal off Manly, something that I'm very glad to see. Keep investing in Jack and Tom, please. Although, maybe put Lehigh back onto the wing and just get Tom back at fullback. I think that's probably better for your long-term outlook, Manly. There's been a bit of transaction action on the weekend. Peter also reckons that Adokar looks slower on the weekend. I don't know. What do you reckon, Craig? He's been heavily involved rucking the ball in the last month or so. Is that taking a toll on his explosive finishing ability?
No, I think the synchronicity between he and Sean Russell has fallen out a little bit. And in both attack and defence. And
that's on both wingers too, by the way. That was something I was taking umbrage with, was less so Adokar on the weekend, but in prior games, he, and then obviously in the last 2 weeks, Zach Lomax, have been guilty of jamming in when they've been in man-to-man situations and creating an overlap for the opposition. And in particular, Lomax, who has undergone a huge physical workload, and I think that is a contributing factor to the missed tackles, but he was jamming and really missing his man. Against Penrith, he got, comprehensively outpointed by who's the tall white boy again? Chad, you want to help me with this one? They went to Newcastle and came back to Penrith.
I know who you mean.
He's having a good year.
He's the redhead, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a bit of flame to the hair. Yeah, but he got outpointed there, and I just think that our wingers need to revisit their approach defensively inside the red zone. I feel like they're just getting a little bit heated under the collar and trying to jam too aggressively, and that is not a singular criticism of either Adokar or Lomax. I just think that, and look, I've seen people point out that Bailey Simonson was in some bad spots here and there, and Russell, yeah, you're right, Gallagher. Russell too had some bad positions too. He wasn't working really well with Josh Papalii in the front line either. Jenkins, that's it, guys. Well done, yeah. Thomas Jenkins. Yeah. Neither of the centers were in top form either defensively, but there were a couple of times where it's not just isolated to the Canberra game, but in the last month or so, our wingers getting a little bit trigger happy on the jams. And I just feel like that they can recalibrate, and they need to trust. And this is something that I've always banged the table for, is that when you're in a man-to-man situation, your winger should always put the burden on his center to make the one-on-one tackle and not give up the free pass or offload to the outside man. Because the moment you commit and create that 2-on-1, the centers are too good. They'll find the pass. And you just got to trust that Sean Russell or Bailey Simonson makes the tackle, and if they don't, it's on them, not on you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's been an issue there with they just looked like they haven't been on the same page, and it's been both attack and defence, because it's felt like there's been a few times where Josh Adokar has been looking to come back on the inside.
That was a really bad one against Canberra.
He's ended up betwixt and between.
Sean got the pass wrong badly against the Raiders.
Yeah. So when the Fox has been put on the outside of his opposite this season, he's still been burning them. And we've seen tries that he's scored or breaks that he's made this year that our wingers in previous seasons would not have made.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, So anyway, we move on, John. Josh Papalii may be sticking around at the Raiders. That doesn't look. In all honesty, that doesn't surprise at all. It was surprising me that they weren't interested in him hanging around for one more season.
Especially when he's got the juice left in the tank. He was set to join rugby league history over in the motherland over there. But, now there's been increasing talk that he's going to stick around and find a way to finagle a new deal with the Raiders. Look, if he wants to stick around, they've got enough cap space to squeeze him in and then maybe facilitate something post-career the way a lot of clubs do for, marquee or celebrated players like Josh, who holds a club record for individual games at Canberra now. They do that. And it's not a token gesture. He is not playing token minutes. He's out there still making a difference to Canberra. And I would argue he is perhaps their single most important glue guy. He is the old head in the pack. He is the guy that all the young guys rally around and sort of build around in the ruck. So, begrudgingly, it feels like Canberra might be reaching a good decision here. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Kevin Walters, the Kangaroos coach, mate.
I should have put my hat into the ring, honestly. Like Kevy, at what point do the Roos just coach themselves? Kevy is a great. He comes across as a really good bloke on TV.
It's a 3-match contract. John.
Yeah, well, that's the fascinating thing, isn't it? It's just for the Ashes tour, a kind of a prove it deal, as it were, or maybe they've got someone in the wings like Cameron Smith, who seems a little bit. I don't watch 100% footy usually. My old man had it on the other night, and I caught it as I was taking out the rubbish. And Cameron Smith seemed a little bit disgruntled that he wasn't really, he was sort of part of the process but then cut out of the process. I don't know. Maybe he'll push for something there. But yeah, Walters.
John, a quick question for you. Can you call 3 test matches a tour? Because in the old days, a kangaroo tour would have some club matches. It'd have, say, your 3 test matches against England. It might have a test match against Wales. It would include a test match or 2 against France. And the boys would be over there for a couple of months. They'd all grow beards, and they get up to mischief off the field. They'd maybe rent a bomb of a car, leave it in a canal somewhere after at the end of the tour, so they didn't have to take it back to wherever they hired the bomb from, and all the shenanigans stayed on tour. Is a 3-match trip a tour, really?
It is stretching the definition, isn't it? If they're not going to play any other sort of exhibition games against other, like play France or something like that along the way, it is stretching the definition. It's just a series, isn't it?
Yes.
It's just a 3-game series, a best of 3.
That's it. That's it.
Like, where's the, taking on France or maybe the Irish or Scottish teams in a development game where you play Australia A or something like that? I don't know.
Or the British team taking on the Parramatta Eels, the Parramatta Stadium, the match race between Lee Odenryan and Martin Afire as a pre-game spectacle. The Pommies in the crowd singing their songs. The Eels destroying the touring team, even though we were sitting right at the bottom of the table, destroying the touring team as Stu Galbraith led them to a famous victory.
Stu Godbraith.
Yeah, those were the days. These were the tours you'd come out to a country, you'd play some club matches, you'd maybe also play games against a neighbouring country, like they might play New Zealand when they're in Australia. Australia would play France and maybe Wales over in England. That's a tour, mate. That's a tour.
Yeah, not a free game series. And
series.
Look, usually you grumble and gripe when a coach brings interstate bias into the equation, Craig. But in this case, does Kevy's potential Queensland bias benefit Parramatta? We talked about Mitchell Moses not playing rep football as much and not risking his future as an Eel. Look, Kevy Walters got reamed by Nathan Cleary in that grand final in the virtuoso effort back in 24, and he's got Tom Dearden as a breakout star alongside him. You could just take Cleary and Dearden, Kevy. That's all I'm saying. And you have Cam Munster there too. A little swan song tour for DCE.
Sounds good.
You got options there. And then this next topic I think will be great to hear from ROH, who's still in chat, because it talks about Lewis Dodgett finally ring the bells, getting a start at number 7 for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, obviously being the dud pickup of the year, I think, by the length of the Flemington Straight, Craig. They signed him in excess of $700,000 a season. He has not played for them at all, but he finally gets a start here. I'll be keen to hear what our ROH has to say on Dodd in terms of, did South make was it an obvious faux pas signing him at the time, or was that something that we weren't expecting him to slip up as much as he has? And what's the outlook for him on the weekend, Craig? Because they take on, is it the Derby game for them? Are they taking on the Roosters? Who are they playing? It's Sharks. So a pretty formidable opponent though. This one is a home game for the Rabbitohs. They're playing on Saturday night, primetime slot. It's a home game, but they're taking the Gosford. Polytech Stadium it's called now. God, Polytech. Ugh.
John, this feels like a bit of a pun on the old saying about children should be seen and not heard. Well, the name Lewis Dodd is one that I've heard of, but I've yet to see.
And ROH pointing out that it was a Demetrio pickup, not a Bennett signing. That is correct. But I suppose still in the context of Demetrio picking him up, was it a forward signing as far as back then, ROH? Again, not a huge Super League aficionado. He made a name here for the club championship game where he kicked the field goal against Penrith and won the game. And 360 having a bit of fun of that tonight, saying that is that purely the reason that South Sydney signed him? Like they saw the World Club Championship game and said, wow, he's got something there. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say Parramatta have had great luck of their British signings or English signings in recent years. Obviously, we had the pair of forwards, one never materialised in Hock, and then the other one played one game after talking up how much harder the Super League was, how much more physical it was, and then breaking down. Gareth Hock and Lee? Was it Lee something? Who was the prop forward that just never manifested for us? Played the one game.
You know what? He had that much of an impact on.
Like seriously, completely forgettable player. But in terms of Lee Mossop, yes, Philip, good man.
That's it.
Yeah, he talked a big game about how physical, more physical the Super League was, and played one game for us and just carked it. But geez.
Well, at least he's got a player number.
Yeah, true. Lee Mossop, disgracing the Mossop name in the NRL. With Rex coming before him, right? And then, is this the worst deal we've seen in recent history? $700,000 a year to play half a game so far?
It seems so, John, especially when you consider that the current coach wasn't involved in the signing and obviously has had no interest in using him this year. The other thing too with this, John, and it was something that was coming out of those discussions on 360, which is how bad Souths have gone with their contracts and their recruitment. That they've got
Blake Solly's got the fire on his backside right now. The fans are putting a blowtorch there because there's a lot to answer for insofar as their recruitment and retention. They've been perennial. Well, I suppose.
And I want to check, but I have the feeling that they're sitting down.
Oh, they're stone cold last in Cup, and I think they're not doing too flash and flag. It's not great for them right now, mate.
Yeah, I just thought I'd check this. So let's see. Yeah, Stone motherless last.
Yeah, ROH confirms he was on the decline at St. Helens, which you have great insight into, as I saw in chat before ROH, before South signed him. So just a faux pas. They got it wrong, and it's set them back a fair bit. They have signed the St. George Cup half, who, if I just pull up go to last week because there's a bye, his name is Glover, right? Jonah Glover. So that is a hedge against what they've got there in Cody Walker and God, who is their other half now? I don't even know what's going on at South Sydney. And my best mate is a South fan, by the way, just completely. Jack Whiten's in the halves this week. God, yeah. So they're doing it pretty rough. Yeah, Adam Dykes, good shout. Yep, certainly was a faux pas by the Parramatta Eels. Came to us as a absolute star from Cronulla and just did not work out here. Look, Parramatta, I'm not throwing stones in glass houses, guys. Parramatta have got their fair share of dud signings. Chris Sandow, obviously, in the more recent category. And look, God bless him for having a great career elsewhere, but Kieran Foran did not work out for us. We're not sitting here throwing stones because we've got plenty of broken windows otherwise. But in the context of the recent seasons, geez, it's got to be up there. It's just an absolute crock of a signing. Yeah, big money for Sandow back in the day. At least we got some fun chip and chases, and the game he threw against the Cowboys. Oh God. What Mo actually did stuff though. Like, I don't think it was a great signing, but he was part of a cultural reset at least, or you could understand why. Yeah, look, Watmo, people not liking Watmo there. We got some value out of Watmo. I don't think we got value out of the other guys though. Now you can grumble about some other stuff with Watmo, but I think we still got some value out of him. Foran was a huge stud, Jamie. Unfortunately, I was so pumped when I first got wind of a potential foreign signing. He was the perfect acquisition for us. Yeah, Carl, that was a rough year of recruitment when we had to pivot to that panic recruitment. Hicks, Walker, Maguire, Fadawira. Maguire was actually okay. He was okay. The rest of that class, though, was absolute garbage. Look, I would not be shocked, ROH. Would not surprise me in the least. But yeah, beyond that, mate, I'm just going to see if there's any breaking news in the meantime, because it looks like there isn't much to talk about. Victor Radley swears that he's not going to retire due to head knocks. That's a bad take, I think, mate. That is a bad take, especially given what we saw of his former compatriot in Kiri. I don't know.
You'd have to assume that he's getting medical advice that everything's
he
okay.
He talked about this. I think there's an article that went alongside a video news release today that was talking about the strenuous stuff that he's doing to ensure that he's okay to recover from the head knocks. But the more science that uncovers on CTE and concussions, Craig, I find it hard to, in good conscience, take that stance for a player, whether it's an eel or a rival player. And I mean, not to cut too close to you, like your situation now, but your mental health and your mental faculty is worth more than money. And I think that he's taking an incredibly narrow-sighted, short-term outlook on what is best for him. If he truly believes what he is saying, because I'm more than confident that the Roosters will find a very cozy gig for him in a coaching, advising, off-field role if he was willing to move on. I hope he takes someone can get into his ear and not necessarily tell him to retire, but to just reconsider his outlook, because that is not the right outlook.
And John, there is some cutting-edge technology that's been developed that can test sports people's brain function and about whether they have actually been impacted by concussion. There's technology that will check, are they ready to return to their sport? Should they take more time out? So the technology apparently is there. It's just a matter of whether it's either adopted by the various codes of football, or codes where there is contact in the sport, or B, whether individuals are keen enough to go and be tested individually for how they look. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. I understand where players are coming from because they've got this short window of an NRL career. But as you say, John, the rest of their life is a long time.
It's a long bloody time, mate. Yeah.
And given the players that are now suffering from that, it's CTE, isn't it?
Chronic traumatic encephalitis, I think it's called. Like the swelling on the brain.
Yes, yeah. And look, I think the NRL has done a lot in terms of rule modification. Are there more areas where they could go into? Well, obviously the proponents of looking after the head injuries to players will say, yes, there are more areas that the NRL can go into.
But they've been largely on the front foot. I will give them their dues there. And like, yes, coaches have exploited the rules here and there in terms of the concussion interchange, but mandatory 11-day stand down for a Cat 1 concussion, more strident concussion testing with their CAT checks. They've got, especially in the juniors too, there are more strident stand downs for head knocks. Young kids are protected from the compounding effects of consecutive concussions really well relative to where they were in the past. Not to say there isn't more that they could do, but the NRL, again, I don't usually rep them, but they have done some good things on the concussion front, which is why it does feel, not insulting is not the right word, because the only person he's hurting is himself. But it feels a little bit blasé, or maybe a lack of introspection from Radley here when he makes a comment like that. Like, I get being passionate about the game and wanting to go out there and give it your all, and Radley's a very physical player, a bit overrated in terms of his all-round game, but still a good player. But yeah, I would be stunned if you could bring Victor from 15 years in the future to talk to Victor right now, if he had the same outlook on what was best for him. Victor from 10 years from now, Victor from 5 years from now, if the concussion effects start compounding, it's I respect wanting to play hard and respect wanting to earn a great career as a Parramatta. He was a rugby league player, but not at the expense of your mental faculties, not at the toll it takes on those around you who love you.
Yeah, it may be that progress in this area from here is probably only going to take place when the players and the medicos and the game itself reach some sort of agreement on a few things. But
great point.
I'd hate to see. I don't want to see the fabric of the game change, John.
No,
and
players to an extent understand what they sign.
Don't get rid of a kickoff.
No, and players, there is a some degree of just risk that you sign up for as a professional rugby league player that you're paid for handsomely, like working in the mines where you go fly in, fly out, and it's a high-risk job. You get paid big money for what you do. You understand the inherent risks of what you're doing. You have OH&S protocols to minimize those risks, just like we do with the concussion protocols. But there is still a base element of risk when you play rugby league. You're going to have exposure to head knocks. You're going to have exposure to other injuries that can hurt you long-term and your physical and mental well-being. But like you said, you don't want to lose the spirit of the game, the fabric of the game. There is a delicate balance you're trying to manage there. But I just think that Radley's outlook is and Paul and chat, Paul Corson's in there saying that James Graham, who was literally the poster boy for I don't care, I signed up for this. I don't care about what I do to my body. I will wear the repercussions, has more recently changed his tune. And it's not like he's saying that you got to play with the giant head, the Spaceballs headgear on and whatnot, but he's been far more nuanced in his approach to concussions and the impact on players. So if he can do it, I hope that Victor can do it too. I just
Yeah. No, and that's probably a good point to finish that discussion on, John. That just about brings us to the end of this.
Yeah, good podcast. Hour 40 chat's been fantastic. We've got a bit of the opposite of love for Ricky Stewart and chat here right now. Yeah, Peter does not buy into Canberra's hopes as a premiership contender. Says they're cannon fodder, and it's on the basis that he thinks defense wins big games. Canberra, obviously leaking a few points here and there. Gallagher's on the Finns bandwagon. Look, we don't cheer for Queensland teams too often, but I got to imagine that the Dolphins would be pretty popular if they got deep into the finals. They've got a very enjoyable team to watch, and sticking it to the Broncos would be a great storyline to have in the postseason. Beyond that though, I'm just trying to check let me just see if anyone's pinged me if any news here. Nope. There was
so just a reminder, this Friday we're going to see you there. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Head into Sterlo's in Paraleagues. We'll see you at 7:00. The game kicks off around 8:00. Free finger food, $5 beers.
Yep. Some great giveaways. Got some cups and freebies and stickers and a few other things to hand out. I think you've organised some nice vouchers. So plenty of reasons to attend, even if you don't even like us. If you've been here for nearly 2 hours and you put up with us 2 hours and you don't like us, then you know what? I salute you.
And look, we had a bit of fun with the last live appearance with the boos that were ringing out across the
parochial turnout there. Yeah, it was very good.
Not directed at us, but we just
we had the boo meter going on about Manly and Canterbury and a few other teams, Melbourne, and
Penrith.
Penrith too. It was a very robust turnout there in Stellos, and looking forward to getting to put some names to faces or faces to names, as well as seeing people that we already know, and then maybe, just maybe, seeing the Eels pull off an almighty upset against Brisbane.
Yeah, that would be tremendous. Don't forget, of course, we thank our sponsors, Star Partners Real Estate, Auburn, Narellan, and Parramatta, and of course the home of the Eels where we will be, Parramatta Leagues Club. No matter what platform you're on, give us a like and subscribe. The subscribe we would appreciate so much. But thank you, of course, to everyone who's been there tonight for this live podcast, all the people there in chat that have contributed to this podcast tonight. And John, as I always say, go you mighty Eels.